Welcome to the Midnight Mews, and once again I'm going to talk about Star Wars and its fans. Warning, there are spoilers ahead. Okay, for the record, I like both The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. I love the visual style in The Last Jedi, and I love the non-stop pace of The Rise of Skywalker. Both are flawed movies, but still quite enjoyable. For me, The Last Jedi's biggest flaw is simply not feeling epic enough for a Star Wars movie. I mean, half the movie is really a slow car chase in space. The Rise of Skywalker's biggest flaw is spending so much time reversing The Last Jedi that it barely has time for its own plot. But as usual, what's really ruining them both is Star Wars fans. The Star Wars fanbase has always been divisive, but there's practically a civil war between The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker fans. I've spent the last 2 years listening to people complain about how much they hated The Last Jedi, but the moment Rise of Skywalker hit the screen, suddenly everyone decided that The Last Jedi was the greatest movie since sliced bread. Now, obviously it's not the same people doing the complaining, I get that. Complainers are always the loudest people on the internet, so for the moment, The Last Jedi fans are louder. But still, where were you people for the last 2 years? Last Jedi director Rian Johnson is a human being with feelings. Are you telling me that for the last 2 years, not one of you felt the need to come to his defense? Seriously, I follow all sorts of Star Wars sites, and I never heard of anyone sticking up for The Last Jedi until now. How dare you wait until now to make yourself heard? So let's go over some specifics. In The Last Jedi, Kylo tells Rey that her parents were nobodies. In The Rise of Skywalker, we found out her grandfather was Palpatine. Last Jedi fans are calling this a retcon. Personally, I really think you have to stretch the definition of retcon to call that a retcon. After all, her parents really were nobodies. If you can accept Obi-Wan's certain point of view speech in Return of the Jedi, you can accept that Rey's parents are not her grandparents. The Last Jedi seemed to be setting up Rose Tico as a main character. In Rise of Skywalker, she has less than 2 minutes of screen time. Supposedly, this is because all of her scenes involved working with Leia, and those scenes got cut because Leia's green screen effects were unconvincing. It might just be an excuse, but I'm willing to give them benefit of the doubt. Some of Leia's scenes that did make it in the movie were kind of rough looking, so I'm glad they didn't add more. It's sad that this meant less screen time for Rose, but it was probably too late at that point to add her in elsewhere. It's a pity, yes. After all the behind-the-scenes bullying the actress endured, it would have been nice to spite her haters by giving her even more screen time. But it is what it is. And I really don't believe the director arranged her absence just to placate the racists. At least, I don't want to believe it. People say Luke's attitude is different in Rise of Skywalker than it was in The Last Jedi. But that was character growth. I mean, there's already a scene in The Last Jedi where Yoda's ghost berates Luke for his attitude. And then Luke died later, so let's forgive him for having a different outlook on life now. And so on. I'm not going to respond to every criticism, but the bottom line is, get a life, people. These movies are very different in pace and in tone, but there's no reason that liking one has to mean hating the other. I think they complement each other quite well in much the same way Empire Strikes Back complements Return of the Jedi. I know I can't talk you into liking something if you don't, but at least stop complaining that other people liked a movie you didn't. Besides, it doesn't matter if you didn't like it, it's canon now. Accept the events and move on with your life. The Star Wars community needs to stop fighting with each other so they can go back to fighting with Star Trek fans like nature intended. At least we can all agree that The Mandalorian is awesome. And if you like this video, please, before you go, click like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thank you for watching. May the Force be with you.